You are gonna be, yeah. So that's kind of like how I finished it. Is don't worry, I'll scare the crap out of you for a few minutes, maybe longer than a few minutes, but it'll be okay. It just sucks, but it'll be okay. And a lot of it is just you have to learn how to steal food that's left over and stuff like that. And that's the hardest thing. The hardest thing is the same thing that everybody in the world struggles with: is just saving money and budgeting. Because you don't think with your money, or when it comes to money, everyone thinks with their emotions. That's the worst possible thing you can do. You should always think and do things logically. And if you do that, you will be absolutely fine no matter what circumstances are thrown at you. But none of us do that. So it's the problem with being a human being, is that you don't really think when it comes to money. You just feel when it comes to money. All right. So what do you guys think is the current cost of being a doctor coming out of SGU?
With insurance, about
What do you think the cost is?
at the end of it, are you counting emotional stress?
No. Oh, purely numbers.
Okay.
Purely numbers. All right. So, this is your 4-year tuition right now, right? So if I take everything that people have to pay this year that was online, this is your 4-year tuition. But you got to remember, you have room and board, right? So I asked a number of students, including Sean and several others, what their room and board were and what their rent was, their electricity, all that stuff in Grenada, whether they had cars or not, and things like that. And the prices for those things haven't changed much since I was there. And then I know what rent is around here and what it is to cost, what it costs, and if you have to have a Metro card and all that, right? So that over 4 years comes to about $50,000. Right? That's a lot of money. Right? That's still not including that stuff, right? Which I know everyone took part in at some point or some way, right? And then there's the flights back and forth that you had to take, and most people take 2 to 3, right? So the flights may be on the higher end, but if you include the other fees and bags, and then there's residency applications. I did this math the other day. It's $26 per program. The school recommends that you apply to at least 100 programs, and that's a real recommendation. Or even more, at least 100 programs. They expect that you apply to more, right? So that's going to be more than $2,500. And what does it cost to go on your interviews? If you don't have a suit, you have to buy a suit, or you have to get a haircut. Right? I cut my own hair still. I know I'm not proud of it, but I still cut my own hair. And how do you get to those interviews? You have to go to California, Colorado, Wyoming, all these places where it costs a lot of money sometimes because you got to do multiple transfers, right? If you actually go on a vacation. Your USMLEs for step 1 and step 2 are $2,400, not including if you cancel and reschedule. And none of this is including all of this stuff, right? You all have phones and computers. You all have to pay for internet. Well, maybe you don't. Some of you might be married. Some of you might have kids. Thank God if you don't. I don't mean that in a negative way. I got married when I was in my right before I started my clinics. So you would think that there was an income coming into the house, but we didn't know how to save money. One of the reasons I've learned a ton about all this is because we did it so badly for a long time. And I am an expert at digging out of debt. Maybe not an expert, but I got really good at it. Right? So you guys are going to have more than $300,000. If you add all that up, not including all those other things I didn't include, it's going to be a lot more than $300,000. Right? So, and just to prove to you, this is a screenshot of what's on the school right now for this year. And so, again, you guys are paying a lot in your clinical years, $28,000 a term. And I love how the school stretches out 5 terms in each, so it's more than, it's a lot of money.
What's the oral examination? Because I was wondering.
It's a great question.
What's the oral examination?
It's a great question. You're asking the wrong guys. I don't know. Yeah, they got to get a cap and gown for you. That you have to turn back in. They have to rent the hall or whatever they're going to have.
But with how much we pay already.
Remember, St. George's gave us all the benefit of the doubt, right? We all went there. Most of us went there for a reason. They all gave us the benefit of the doubt. I feel very lucky that I was able to go there, and I'm doing exactly what I want to do, and I'm paying a lot of money for it. So yes, it's frustrating. All right, and then just to give you an idea, this was average of all residents who filled out the survey. Only about 1,200, 1,300 residents filled out this survey, and 37% were over 200,000. The 22% who had none, I don't know who they are, but I don't like them. And then the next thing you got to know about we're not done with the cost, right? This is just so far. Is what are your interest rates? Do you guys know what the interest rates or how important interest rates are on your loans? All right. So, do you know your interest rates at all? You're roughly all going to be the same. You don't have to don't shout out any personal information if you really don't want to, but most of your interest rates are all going to be the same. So the Stafford ones are based on a treasury bill, right? A treasury bond. And it's called the 10-year T-note. And right now, that's at 5.8% or something like that. So Stafford loans come in, no, it's a 4.6%. So Stafford loans are coming in at 5.86 or so. I have it in later on. So it's about 5.8%, right? It's not horrible. What are your private loans, right? Because most people take out Stafford, both subsidized and unsubsidized, and private loans. The majority, which you guys are lucky, are going to be Stafford. For me, it started after I graduated. The majority used to be private. So you guys still have a slightly better deal than I do as far as initial rates. But the rates for private loans now, what I'm told is anywhere between 9 and 12% what I can find. That's a lot worse than when I was in school. And there's a sweet spot between the mid-90s to the mid-thousands, right, before the financial whatever, where rates were nice and low. But then in the 80s, the rates were even worse than what you guys had. So if you think about the people who were older than me, the loans that they had to take were far worse than the ones that you have, and they're done paying them off. At least the ones who I've shown this to, they laugh and say, well, I'm done with that. But they didn't have to pay nearly as much as we do for school. All right. So then the next thing is, before we talk about the total cost, is you will make it salary once you become a resident, right? Do you guys know the average salary for residents? So you're kind of in the ballpark, right? The average across the country is $55,400, and that's up $100 from last year. Wonderful. There's a lot of taxes and things that you don't realize, so your take home from that is going to be about 45 or less. Now it's a better tax bracket. You get tax credits because of the interest that you're paying on your loans. So it's not that bad. You will get most of this money. All right, and again, salary per year, you see the first to 8th year. I don't know why it goes in the 7th year to 66 and the 8th year to 63. That doesn't make so much sense to me. And again, there's only so many people filling out the survey. And also, I don't understand how you can have a gender gap in residency when everyone's paid the same amount. So again, the reason I have this one up there is because it makes me question the survey more than anything else. That being said, there shouldn't be gender disparity in salaries. So if you guys become administrators and you do that, you're jerks. So don't do that. And then finally, just to give you guys an idea, the best place to be a resident and get paid is in the Northeast. The most expensive place to live is the Northeast. So that's one of the reasons it's the most. And then here, the starting salary is about 64, and after a 3rd year of residency, you go up to about 67. If you guys have your username and password for the AMA, all this information should be on there still under the FRIA website. So it's Kings County downstate, the residency through downstate, used to be one of the highest paid residency programs in the country, across the board, medicine, peds, everything. And between us and LIJ, used to go back and forth every year, which is now Northwell, who was the highest paid residents in the country. Right? So that was nice that I got to do my residency here. But it costs a lot of money to live here, comparative to like North Dakota. North Dakota is important. We'll get back to them in a little bit. And then, do you guys know why Kings County gets, or residents at downstate Kings County get paid so well? Has nothing to do with city employees. That's benefits, and that's what we'll talk about later on. So we'll talk about it briefly later on, but it has to do with the CIR, Committee of Interns and Residents. And because of them, they've driven up the salary price. Because as residents, you can't argue. You can't be like, I want to get paid more. You don't have time to breathe, let alone argue about getting paid more money. So this union basically fights on your behalf, which is great. All right, so, and then salary after residency. Orthopedics is, neurosurgery is not up here. I think they're the highest paid out here. And the really most highest paid out of everybody are pediatric cardiothoracic surgeons. So if all you care about is money and little babies, do pediatric cardiothoracic surgery. But the stress involved with that, you have to really not care about a lot of things. So I'm in critical care, but I don't make that salary. I'm a pediatrician, and I'm much closer to that salary. So this chart is not the most accurate, even though I get classified in some studies as critical care, other studies as pediatrics. The other thing that I learned in the past few days is the salary for general practitioners, so pediatrics, internal medicine, family medicine, is going up year after year after year. The starting salary here now for a general pediatrician is $160,000 plus. It used to be like 120 or lower. Now it's 160. Plus, if you come to work here, you also get $25,000 a year of loan repayment if you're doing purely outpatient. So that's again, that's like getting 185. And that 25 that you're getting for your loan repayment is tax free. All right. So you do make money eventually, right? We're gonna skip that. And North Dakota is, on average, the highest salary for physicians in the country. So if you can't see, it's North Dakota, Alaska, Wyoming, Wisconsin, Oklahoma, New Hampshire, Minnesota, West Virginia, Washington, and Indiana. All very, very warm places to live. But Indiana, and Indiana also has some of the highest number of residency programs. All right. So we're going to go into how much you're going to have to pay back. But the most important person to pay first once you have a job is yourself. If you don't pay yourself first, you're going to be miserable the rest of your life. You're always going to wish you had more money. You're never going to see money in the bank. You guys know what I mean by pay yourself? So what do you do when you have any? Some of you guys have gotten a paycheck to some extent for a summer job or something at one point, maybe, right? Some of them. What's the first thing you do with the paycheck? What do you pay? Some people go buy something nice. Some of you guys are going to never do that again. But eventually, but not anytime soon. So a lot of people just go buy something nice, right? Or you have to pay your cell phone bill, which is overdue, or your college loan, which is in forbearance or something, right? You have to pay all these things, and who comes last on that list most of the time? Is you. You have to pay yourself first, and you'll figure out everything else. And so one of the things that's extremely and highly recommended for hundreds upon thousands of years is to save money first. So you should always have money. If you have direct deposit, you can have direct deposit into multiple bank accounts and stuff. Have a percentage, a set percentage that will always go in that you will not touch. It's not your money. It's not there for you to use for anything. If you can't do anything, start with 1% of your salary. That's like nothing. The recommended is 10%. And for people like me who have 5 kids and are stupid, it's 15% or more. And I don't do that. I can't do 15%. At least right now in my mind, I say I can't. I probably could if I changed a lot of things. And you guys are at a point where you can do far better than me and not get into a lot of the problems I got into. Right? I got a lot of money when we got married, My wife's family's Italian. They gave us a ton of money. We blew all of it on furniture that half of which we don't even, more than half we don't even have anymore. On just stuff. And that was one of the worst decisions we could have ever made. You guys are going to make the same mistakes, even though I'm telling you not to. But if you get married, or if you have some event, you have your graduation, take 10% of the money that people give you at graduation, put it in a bank account or a savings account that you cannot readily access. Right? It's extremely important because all that money, one day, you don't want it all to go to your loans. You don't want it all to go to all your bills. It has to go to you. I'm harping on this because it is one of the most important things that you could ever do for yourself. Not now, but in 10 years from now, 20, 30, and 40 years from now. We're going to go through why. Right? The other thing is this comes from this book, The Richest Man in Babylon. It's quick reading. If you don't like reading and you just travel a lot on YouTube, almost all these like great books, or people read them on YouTube. So you can listen to this one. You don't even have to buy anything, and it's also free online now. But I highly recommend that book, and I'll show it to you again at the end. So why is this small amount of money so important? Do you guys know what compounding is? Trust me, I don't want to lose you guys. We're going to go back to how much money you owe in a few minutes, which will bring you right back. It's why this is so important. But compounding is one of the most important things in why saving a little bit now can make you a millionaire much earlier than I ever would. Okay? And I'm not kidding, a millionaire. So if you took only $100 and put it you took it and you invested it, right, the stock market over 30 years, you get an average of 7% return. You guys will be sold many, many times over when it comes to benefits, when it comes to tons of stuff. Oh, we can get you an 11% return, a 10% return, a 15% return. Those things are so rare that they actually stand over time that you're not going to get them. Many of those times, those things come back down. So if you just generally look at the stock market or anything else, 7% is the average over a 30-year span. Okay, and that's what most of your retirement stuff, that's what most investments are. It's over a long period of time. Okay, so when things goes up to 23% return, and you're like, oh, life is wonderful, and then it tanks, don't fret, don't move your money, don't use your emotion. Again, don't take my word for it. I'm going to give you other references for this type of stuff that are safe and good advice, not mine. But for compounding, if you just took $100, added no other money to it, at an interest rate of 7%, or actually this one's at 5%, okay, which is a very conservative interest rate for different types of savings. After 30 years, $100 turns into $412. Doesn't sound like much, I know, but you made $312 sitting on your butt doing nothing. That could be $10,000 and now you have $41,000. That could be $100,000 and that's $400,000. That could be $1 million and now it's $4 million. And when you say $1 million there and $4 million there, that sounds like, oh my God, that's a lot more money. But it's the same ratio. And no, $100 will not turn into $4 million by not adding anything to it. But keep that in mind. All right? And again, if the market did pretty well over those 30 years and it was actually 10% rather than the 7%, that $100 turns into $1,500, which is much more significant. All right? So compounding is one of the best things. You'll hear about this all the time. Usually when people use examples of compounding, they say 50% and the numbers are phenomenal. But I'm not here to fool you or sell you anything, so I'm using real estate numbers.
When you're talking about this money, where are you putting it in a certain type of account?
So I'm not going to go into what type of accounts and how to invest money and stuff like that. I'm going to give you the best resources, and it'll be pretty obvious what I think are the best resources for you guys to read and learn it on your own. You're not going to learn that from me tonight. There's no magic formula. But there's a lot of things you need to know to do the best thing for you. So I'm going to tell you all of that. You can actually get one of the books that I think is the best book in the world, especially for physicians who are smart but have no clue about finances. You can get it and just pay shipping. I bought it today. I bought the audio book, I bought the regular book, and then I bought another book today because all you have to do is pay shipping and handling and get the book for free. Which is, it sounds like a gimmick, but I'm not going to go into it, but I highly recommend that one. All right. And then we're not really going to go through this, but I'm 30, right? It says current age. I'm 36, right? I want to retire when I'm 65. Hopefully my life expectancy is longer, but maybe I'll die at 90 based on my family. So my desired annual income when I retire. That's one thing, one day, not today, that you guys need to figure out is what do you need once you retire? You don't need nearly as much as you think. Because ideally when you retire, your house payments are done, your kids are out of college, all that stuff's done. Right? So you don't need nearly as much as you used to. You can't actually physically do a lot of what you used to, right? Maybe you like to skydive all the time. When you're 65, you cannot skydive all the time. I don't care who you are. So that, instead of 1,000 jumps a year, you're just doing like 100 jumps a year, so it's cheaper. All right. So if I start off this year with just $2,000, and over those 30 years that I'm investing in whatever investment funds for my retirement, I get an 8% return. That's a conservative, kind of maybe slightly aggressive conservative number, right? But a very realistic number. And inflation rate, people always say, is about 3%. If I start saving $2,000 a month today, and I increase that over time, especially as my salary goes up, I continue to increase the amount that I save on a monthly basis. In 2045, I will have $3,370,000. I could show you the whole worksheet, but this is real. And yeah, I'm not saving only $2,000 a month, but I'm 36, so I got to start at a higher amount. If I plug your age into this, you guys start at a much lower amount, right? Well, I'm not going to go through that right now, but this, if you guys have any Apple product, if you go to Numbers, which is Apple's version of Excel, you go to Start New, and it will ask you, what do you want to do? And this exact picture you'll see, and you choose that, and you can plug in any number you want. You see how much you have to save. There's a second tab. On the second tab, you see how much you have to save on a monthly basis for the rest of your life, right? It spells it out for you. It's not as easy as it sounds, but it doesn't take a lots of science either. All right. So you'll make money. You can make millions of dollars and have it safe in the bank that you can live so you're on 90, 100, 110. But first, you have to worry about your loans. So what is the full cost of your loan? Now, we talked about what all our costs are going to be, right? And what become, I would say a larger ballpark figure would be $350,000 coming from St. George's. Okay? All right, and then you got to know what your interest rates were. And we discussed before, the Stafford loans are 5.8%. The Plus loans, which is if your parents took a loan out for you guys, is 6.84%, and private loans are anywhere between 9 and 12%. And that's a lot. So, a total of $350,000, right? You can get a maximum on Stafford loans, which probably most of you do, of $224. Okay? Again, that's far better than I could ever have gotten from Stafford loans. So, their annual rate is at 5.84%, and let's say you do a 30-year payback, right? Which a lot of people wind up doing when they consolidate their loans. They choose the longest one because it's the smallest amount to pay at the beginning. Your monthly payment is $1,320 just for the Stafford loans. Your total interest that you pay over the life of the loan is $251,000, and just for the Stafford ones, you're paying a total of $475. Don't worry, it gets worse. And then the same thing for the privates, right? And I chose 10%, which is in between the 9 and 12. I don't know what you guys have. This is this stuff is very easy to calculate for yourself. The same thing in Numbers. There's a whole section for loan comparison, so you can plug this into that one. It makes it easy to figure out what you're going to have to do. If you want, one day we can sit down, do it together, and make you cry. But don't worry. So your total cost of going to medical school 30 years from now, if that's what you do, you pay the minimum for the 30 years, is $873,280. That's also if it's compounded annually versus monthly. If it's compounded monthly, it's going to be like $878,000. Who really cares about $3,000? So, I say that jokingly because you should. You should care about $3,000. even when the number's this big. Okay, $3,000 is a plane ticket to vacation, a nice vacation when you're a millionaire. All right, so do you guys know what you can? So do you think you can afford to pay back your loans during residency? So I don't have this. I don't go through budgeting, right, at all tonight in any of this. How much do you need to live? It depends on a lot, right? I'm not going to ask anyone to say what they have to have in life, what they need. And there's a difference, and you guys need to face this fact. There is a difference between haves and needs. All right? There are certain things you need: hot water, food, a place to live that's clean, and you're not going to get sick. You will need a phone. It's the way. That's unfortunately the way it is. You don't need the brand new phone. You don't. I have like 3 old phones. I'll sell them all. I'll give them away, actually. Half of them have cracked screens, but I'll give them away to people. Right? After putting all these numbers together, if you want, I'll give them to you. iPads or Surface tablets or whatever. You don't need those. We all want them, but you don't need them. I know these are not things that you all want to hear, but you must. And you must seriously think about this. And if you listen, and you really are able to learn how to budget, because a lot of us didn't see how budgeting gets done. Our parents didn't talk about it. My parents came from the age where you did not talk about it whatsoever. Never let the kids see the finances whatsoever. That was one of the worst things they could have done for me, because I made a lot of mistakes that I don't want you guys to make. I'm doing better now, a lot better. All right. So you need to pay your loans during residency. No, that's a real number, Kevin. You don't have to adjust the glasses.
Just trying to
You see it, right? We went from, so you can defer your loans during residency. Private loans usually are only 2 years, some do 3 years. And Stafford loans do 3 years, I think, pretty sure. All right? But if you defer your loans, the first time I did it, so there's 2 types of Stafford loans. You know what they are? Subsidized and unsubsidized. What's the difference? Right. So subsidized when you're not in a repayment time in school, in deferment. The government takes care of the interest. Right? I've accounted for that. Initially, I didn't account for that, and it was $1.1 million. I accounted for that in this. And so this may not be exact. I may be off maybe $1,000, but who cares? It's almost $1 million.
I didn't think you could qualify for subsidized loans for grad school.
No, you should have Stafford subsidized and unsubsidized. Well, maybe that also changed in 2007. Some people do have both, right? So if they are not subsidized, and you're ending school with $350,000 now, and you defer during residency, that number is $1.1 million, not $970,000. Don't worry, right? It'll be okay. But you take me very seriously when I tell you you must pay them back during your residency. All right? We'll move on, but it'll get better, but this will come back. And again, this is another way to look at it. And you'll eventually pay it back. Oh, that's what I wanted to show you. Sorry, I knew there was something. So we talked about the difference between subsidized and unsubsidized, but it's important to remember that whenever you're in a deferment phase, if you have unsubsidized loans, you are accruing interest through that phase. All right. So once you get to the point of having to pay, so when do you have to pay back your loans? Right, you get a grace period of 6 months. Some loans don't give you a grace period. if you consolidate your loans, sometimes you don't get a grace period because you consolidated into, right? If you can consolidate into a lower interest rate, but you lose your grace period, trust me, that's a win for you. Because not only are you starting to pay it off sooner, so that that interest doesn't continue to accrue, but you also have a lower rate, right? So it's not a bad thing. So that should not be in your mindset when you're thinking about consolidating the loans. What does consolidating the loans do? It takes the 15 different loans or however many you have that all add up to that 350, right? Because you get a loan for each term, right? So that's like 12 different loans, 10 different loans. Consolidating puts them all into one thing and puts them all together at one interest rate. Sometimes interest rates are better than others. So if it's a low interest rate time, you definitely want to consolidate. If you consolidate and it goes to a higher interest rate, pay all 10 at different times. It all comes out to the same amount of money that you pay back, but at a lower interest rate than if you consolidate. Does that make sense? This is important.
Well, what's up when you consolidate your loans?
You can consolidate. Those rules change sometimes depending on the loans. Some say you have to do it within a certain amount of time of graduating. You can always refinance, but you can't always reconsolidate. You can only reconsolidate once, as far as I know.
We hear many of this, so my federal loans and private loans are consolidated under one loan.
Your federal loans and your private loans do not consolidate. So I pay two separate things. One is my federal, and one is my private.
Will your Stafford and Plus loans consolidate your loan?
I believe so. That's something you should double check. I believe they will, but it's very easy to check. I left all the printouts in my office. I had a whole bunch of handouts. That's so useful, isn't it? That I have left them in my office. But I'll either tomorrow or Monday I'll leave them in here, so then that way you guys. It has a list of all the websites, and that's also on the same shared site through the group in your email. All right, so there's a number of different ways that you can pay things back. There's the standard way, set it and forget it, just pay it back. There's the extended way, where you don't pay things back and then you pay things back, right? But you're going to wind up paying more money that way. There's graduated, meaning that you pay graduated payments. You pay smaller payments now, but much larger payments later when you have a higher salary and you can pay larger payments, and you can't pay small payments now. Income-based repayment, so as your income changes, your repayments change. Income contingent repayment. That one's a lot like income-based repayment. I'm not going to try to confuse you with multiple different types. And then income-sensitive repayment. They're all roughly the same idea, that if you lose your job or if you are getting paid less, you're getting paid more, it changes the amount that you're paying back. It may change the term as well, how long you have to pay back. But trust me, the bank is always winning. So we talked about deferment. What is deferment? Yeah, it's postponing paying the loan, right? I know I've said it a few times. I'm harping on it because I want you guys, a lot of people hear everything, but they don't always understand it. What is forbearance? So is deference good or bad as far as your credit's concerned? Doesn't matter. It's fine. Is forbearance good or bad? Forbearance is bad. Right? Forbearance is a step before bankruptcy, essentially. You can't pay, you have a hardship, but they do give, and forbearance also, if you have subsidized loans, they continue to accrue. So deferment, subsidized loans don't accrue interest. Forbearance, subsidized loans do accrue interest. Okay? Remember, that's an unsubsidized versus subsidized. You have to try not to go into forbearance. Right? It's not horrible. You may have to. Some people do. I thought I was going to have to when I was a fellow, but I didn't. And you just find a way to make it work. All right. So now we're getting we're going to go more towards like life getting better at this point. So if you're going to pay back your loans, one of the best ways to do it is pay them back with a little bit more of the principal than they're asking you for. Right? That's going to significantly reduce how much you're going to lose. Remember how we talked about compounding earlier and how we turned $100 into $400? Well, adding a little bit more on your principal kills the compounding of your loan. And that's one way that you keep it from growing out of control. This is also called prepayment, right? So you want to make sure that there's, when you do consolidate loans or you finance loans or whatever, that there's no penalty for prepayment. Because banks will be like, oh, you can't prepay. We want all of your money, right? But you want to, when you can, so that's this very important concept that you have to pay attention to when you consolidate your loans is the term of prepayment. You want them to allow you to prepay, right? You may never do it, but you want to be allowed to. Otherwise, you will have to pay $1 million. You guys okay so far? Right, that number is a lot better, right? So, if you took your initial loan of $350, the same rates that we had before, the same length of the term, the same monthly payments, but to each one of them, you added $300 to the minimum, right? So it's a total of $600. It's a lot of money when you're a resident. But you added $300 to each of them. You went from $873,000 down to $605,000. It's not bad, and it's only $600 a month, and no deferment. Right? So it's not that bad. You just have to be very smart about it. This was the whole thing. Oh, I had it here, where your principal and your interest is different. So you see here, month number one, my payment is $348 going towards my principal, $1,750 going towards my interest. I would much rather the $1,750 going towards my principal and the $350 going towards my interest, but loan companies don't want it that way, so they don't do it that way. And they have a preset way that they do it, and it kind of stinks. This is actually mine. So this is from one of my federal ones. And now I'm in the point where my payment amount that goes to my principal is more than my applied interest. I pay twice a month, so that's why the numbers look so low. Well, they're not that low. I chose like the least amount one to make it look like I don't owe that much anymore. But you see how now it's like the top one's $95 and the other one's $44. So I was so happy the day that it was $1,035 and $1,035, that it was the same. And then the next month it shifted. You know, I was like, oh, I'm on the other side. It's awesome. If you don't prepay, it will take 25 years. It's either 23 or 25 years for 350, that loan amount that we originally showed, to get to that point. No, if you guys do not understand, or if I'm being confusing, you need to understand all of this. So I will answer it over and over and over. Prepay meaning you pay the minimum plus a little bit more, because you're prepaying the principal. That's why they call it prepay.
Okay, because I wasn't sure if you were talking about like in the 6 months deferment, or you were talking about making extra payment between.
I mean, like every month for the next 30 years. Well, hopefully, and then it turns into less than 30 years. But you pay a little bit more. If you're paying $300 per thing, right, $600 extra a month, you go from owing $800 plus to only $600 plus. Now, the next thing that you want to make sure that's part of your package deals, I don't know how frequent these are anymore, are reductions in your rate. So this is the reductions that I got. The top one is for 20. It's 1% interest rate at 24 on-time payments. So once I paid 24, so that's 2 years, on-time payments, I got a 1% reduction rate. Right? That's important. Any reduction in your interest rate is important. The second one, where it says 0.5 interest rate, quick pay. So they said if you sign up to do automatic deductions from your bank account on a regular basis, you get a 0.5% deduction. So not only do I not have to, I'll never forget to make a payment, you'll automatically do it. And my bank lets me overdraft by accident sometimes without charging me. This was back when Commerce Bank, before it became TD Bank, and they actually let you do that. So there were a few times where it overdrafted, and I didn't get charged anything. It was wonderful. They don't do that. TD Bank now charges me when I overdraft like $100, and then it's like successive $100 amounts. Anyway, so the other thing is I'm not telling you to do this, but this is what some people recommend: is to even start paying back now, even if it's only $5 a month. Okay, and we already killed paying back during residency. You understand the problem of deferment. So if you pay back I'm using a slightly bigger month than I think anyone could ever afford, but if you pay back 100 months starting now, right now, it's about 16 months roughly until you have to start paying back, right? Because the grace period and all that. And the grace period, I think you're not accruing interest at that time either. I could be wrong. But roughly, if you pay $1,600 over the next 16 months, and you pay more on your principal on each one of those loans, you go from owing that 800 and horrible number, or even that almost $1 million number of someone who defers, down to only 598,000 or 599,000. We'll call it an even 600. So you've saved 5,000 by paying 1,600 now. If I could invest $1,600 today and have $5,000 for doing absolutely nothing 30 years from now, that's a good deal. I'm not telling you guys to do this. I'm not telling you you have to do this. You don't. I just want to open up your eyes to what's possible to do. Right? Oh, next is grants. So I didn't defer my loans when I went to residency. I was told not to. I was married, but we had no kids. And my wife was also working. So we figured we could pay it. My wife, she likes to spend money. And I'm not making fun of my wife or picking on my wife. I never say no. And she would get stuff and it was on sale and it was this and it was that. And I'm like, all right, even though it was on sale, we didn't really need it. And she used to bring home, she worked at North Shore Animal. She was the director of their foster care program. She used to bring home cats with feline leukemia who were going to die in several weeks anyway. So we had to pay for their food and this and that. And then she'd get these amazing cat trees. I don't know if you've ever seen these things. They cost like $300, $400, $500. We had 4. We lived in an apartment in Brooklyn. We lived in a duplex apartment in Brooklyn because we had 3 dogs. Nobody wanted to rent to us. We lived in Bed-Stuy because no one wanted to rent to someone with 3 dogs. We had 3 dogs. You know how much 3 dogs cost a year if you were actually taking care of them? It's a lot of money. It's a lot. Between food, vet bills, poo bags, Christmas presents, birthday presents for birthday parties. I love my wife. It's a lot of money. We got married, and IKEA was like our best friend, right? We got the nice stuff from IKEA too. So I was paying my loans when I first started my residency. Then we had 1 kid. Then we had a 2nd kid. And when I was a chief resident here, I was making almost $72,000 a year. I had one of the best health insurances you can think of. So I had almost no deductibles and pretty much just some copays, which doesn't exist anymore. Even here, it doesn't exist anymore. But it was wonderful. So I didn't have a lot of healthcare costs. I was healthier then. I didn't belong to a gym then, but I didn't have time to belong to a gym as a resident. I thought. Plus, there was no gym. In Brooklyn is not the way it is now. There is no gym in Brooklyn. Right? If you wanted to go to the gym, it was called the playground, which I still use. So that was not good, right? So then I went from making $71,000. Then I went into my fellowship, and at Columbia, part of your payment is the pizzazz of being at Columbia. So I went from 71,000 down to 57,000. Yeah, that's what happened. And so at that point, after going halfway through my first year, I was like, oh my God, what the heck am I going to do? I was like, all right, I'll just defer. I can't do anything else. I'll defer. So I deferred my loans, and I could only at that point defer them for 2 years. And I couldn't defer my private loans. I can't remember which one. One of them I couldn't defer. The other one I deferred for 2 years to make it easier. So instead of paying $2,000 a month, I was paying somewhere around like $800 a month. It was doable.
Okay.
Or it was even less than that because the amount I have to pay now is much more because of those 2 freaking years. So it's miserable, and we spent a lot of money on stuff that we didn't need. And we had 2 more kids. No, we just had 1 more kid. Well, during my fellowship, with still pretty good health insurance, so I didn't have to pay that much for that. But it wasn't until I got my first job that I really made some mistakes, right? Because I was making, when I left Columbia, somewhere around $63,000, still less than when I was a chief resident. And then I went to Morristown, where they were paying me $215,000. So at the end of the month, or at the end of the day, when I was a fellow, how much money do you think I had in my bank account? It was frequently that number is covered with parentheses, right? You know what the parentheses mean, right? Negative. I always found a way, and maybe sometimes I had to ask a parent or something for like $100 here and there, just to take care of stuff. When I was making the new salary at Morristown, how much do you think my bank account showed at the end of the month? Same, and sometimes bigger. Negative numbers, right? So that was one of the biggest mistakes I've ever made in my life. How could I go from living on? Granted, I did get some family support for things, and my in-laws would pay for stuff for the kids, and so it could have been far worse. But we owned a house, right? I got a house when I went from my chief year into my fellowship year. So they were like, all right, well, you own a house, but you out of here. So, and that was also kind of it was a good thing, but it was extremely hard to do. How did I go from making ends meet barely month to month to month on 63, and then I like tripled or more my salary, and I was feeling I was still only making ends meet month to month to month to month. I'm still paying off my loans, right? That wasn't a problem, but I went and I got all this other crap, and did this, and did that, and I wasted money. I wasted a ton of money, and I do regret some of it, not all of it. I don't want you guys to do that. I have a lot of resources for you on that paper that I forgot to bring you, but it's also online, and I can email it to all of you now. As far as budgeting, I'm not telling you have to budget. You don't want to budget. Nobody does. My wife, I can never sit her down to budget, and she's like allergic to it, or like she anaphylaxis. I think every time I try to sit down and come up with a budget, because she feels that I'm constraining her, right? And she doesn't want to be constrained, and it's hard sometimes to see the moment versus 10 years from now. You know, we could be on luxury vacations 10 years from now, or we could be buying 15,000 bouncy balls right now. Which do we want to do? Right? Which do we need? So it's very important that you guys understand budgeting, right? And when you say you can't, think about what you can't do, right? First off, never say you can't. You just need a little help. But second, think about what you need versus what you want. And what you want can become very, very, what you really want can really come true if you take care of only what you need right now, right? I'm going to stop harping on that. So grants, right? How do you get other people to pay your loans back? All right, so there's a number of loans. And the last one that I actually found out while doing this, putting all this together, I was pretty set on doing the public service loan forgiveness. So after working in non-for-profit hospitals for 10 years or more, starting in 2007 and on, any federal loans, done. I was like, I'm golden, this is great. And the government now is trying to change that to a maximum amount that's actually forgiven. But right now, it's everything forgiven that's federal loan after 10 years. I thought this was wonderful. I was set. I had nothing to worry about. It turns out that there are many different types of Stafford loans, not just subsidized and unsubsidized. And when you consolidate them, there are different types. So I don't go into this too much, but when you consolidate and it's not a direct loan, that's important. A direct loan, you cannot do that first one, where everything just goes away. I'm just a federal.
So that's someone, you have to be like a primary care, right?
Mm-mm. You have to work for a non-for-profit institute. There's a lot of stipulations, but if you do pretty much anything that we do and you work in a hospital as opposed to private practice, it will pretty much count. I'm not going to go into the specifics of this. To go into the specifics of any one of these could take an hour or more. I'm not going to go into them, but you need to know about each one of these. These ones you don't have to write down if you don't want to. I'll make sure that you have them.
One last thing about the same thing, your residency counts.
That's why I was so happy. My loans, my federal loans, 2007, right? I started my residency in 2006 in downstate Kings County, paid by Kings County. Kings County definitely on every list as far as payback, all right? So I'm here. So one year of my residency didn't count because it didn't exist, the thing, right? But 3 years, 2 years, my chief year counted, Columbia counted, Morristown counted, my job right now counts. One more year, it's almost 2017. My hopes and dreams were crushed 2 nights ago when I realized that my Stafford loans, when I consolidate them, were not direct. I did not consolidate into direct loans. I'm not going to explain all those terms. Just know you need for that one. That was my heart and my dream is gone, and because I did something called an EEFL. I actually still don't quite understand the differences. And since this PSFL didn't exist back when I was consolidating my loans, no one knew to give me the advice to say go to it.
So this is something that happened to you when you consolidated, not when you took out the loan.
Right, it happened when I consolidated. But again, this repayment venue did not exist. So I didn't even know that I was doing something that was going to hurt me for something that didn't exist. And if I actually read all the fine print a long time ago, it would have been better. I would have had my hopes and dreams crushed. I was getting palpitations when I saw that $1 million pop up when I was going through your guys' stuff. And then that just made it even worse.
So was this what you're paying back for 10 years and the rest is renewed?
So right now they're trying to push legislation where it's not going to be all forgiven. So for you guys, most likely it probably won't be all forgiven. But if you work for, it's pretty much a non-for-profit hospital, healthcare organization. They have all these different terms to describe healthcare organizations. I'm not going to go through that either. You won't understand it right now. But just know that this loan exists. All of these exist, and you could possibly get some of them. But you need to have a list of them so when you are looking into it, you know what to look for. Okay? I'm not going to go through each one. So loan forgiveness in service of areas of national need. This is a new one that they're planning on having available soon. So that's one that you just need to know about it. I can't tell you anything about it because I don't know anything about it. But this is a loan that they're hoping to have passed in the next year or two. The National Health Service Corps. All right, so this is that website, and now you guys will have that link. That has a number of these different types of loans on there. And the National Health Service Corps rates areas as far as need. This area that we're in is one of the higher need areas. Alaska, higher need area. Payment, like salary in Alaska, pretty good. On top of paying your loans back. I'm not saying you should go to Alaska. You know, if you're not married, you're not tied down, and you have a sense of adventure, go somewhere. Go somewhere, make a kick-ass salary for a few years, get some of your loans paid back, pay the rest off, buy a kick-ass mansion when you come back, and get the job that you wanted anyway. Just saying, if you're not tied down, I would highly recommend it. All right. So then there's your students to service loan repayment. This is the one I was explaining a little bit earlier. This is only for LCME approved schools, which is not us. That doesn't mean it will always be that way. So I have it on here because you never know when things are going to change. Okay, so that's something when you're looking into repayment, look into that loan. The specifics of it are pretty good. And that's also the one that you would apply for right now going into your fourth year. So I want you to look at it and just see what the specifics are and how much they could actually pay back. And also remember, even after you graduate, even after you get a residency or get a job somewhere, new loan repayment programs are created and pop up. There are going to be more in the future because if every doctor is graduating and can't pay their loans back and they defer and they all owe $1 million, no one is going to be a doctor. We are in an age where we do not have enough doctors. We will not have enough doctors when all of us are old and need them. So if all doctors are, and then if we're not making more doctors because they have to pay millions of dollars back, it's not going to work. Something will change. I don't know what, I don't know how, but just keep paying attention every year. Maybe when you do your taxes. Maybe when in the summer when you get a bonus. And pick a time every year, not only to review all your finances, but to look for new loan repayment things so you don't have to pay it all back and you can save that money for yourself. Oh, my last one, and it's not a joke, is wealthy friends and family. All right? Some people are lucky to have wealthy friends and family. You may not talk to them that much. They may be a second cousin or a third cousin. But if you have a cousin who is like a bazillionaire or has millions upon millions of dollars or a lot of money and are generous, just ask, can I have $100,000 and I'll pay back in 20 years? Interest free. Ask them. What are they going to say? No. Right? The worst they're going to say is no. And you can laugh. The best thing that they'll say is yes. For multiple reasons. Some relatives will not make you pay that back. If they say, yeah, sure, 20 years from now or in 10 years from now we'll come up with a repayment plan but interest free, if you pay off $100,000 on your loan today, I didn't do a calculation for you guys for this, it significantly reduces your principal, significantly reduces how much you're going to owe in the long term. It can significantly reduce your monthly payments. It can do a lot for you, right? Not many people have that opportunity, but if you know someone who really has tons of money, not just you think they have a ton of money, but you know they have a ton of money, ask. The worst they're going to say is no. And you're not asking for the money. You put a contract, write it up, ask for interest free, or like a 0.0000001 interest rate. Don't be proud because it can save you hundreds of thousands of dollars, which is not your money, by the way. You guys have planning on having kids? You're going to have to do all of this over again when your kids need to go to school, right? And it's better to save that money than to have to take another loan out for your kids to go to school, because then you're going to be going through this all over again. Your kids will have to go through this. Whereas if you could take the money that you otherwise would have been paying to this loan and put it aside in a 529 plan for your kids' savings for school, your kids will go to school loan free. And that's what I wish for everybody. My best friend went to college for free. He went to medical school for free, but took loans out to improve his credit. Every time he talks about it, I want to beat the crap out of him. I keep looking at you, Bob. I like you. All right, this is you guys can look at this later. It's just more information about that PSLF one, which everyone can get, and it's going to be pretty easy to do because it counts during your residency. Again, this is the website, National Service Corps, and the links at the bottom that you can get most of these loans, or it has references for most of the loans that we're talking about. We talked about that one, state specific. So right now, and this one I'm probably going to try to get, is there's $150,000 for a 5-year commitment in an underserved area, and you had to have started by after July 1st, 2013. I think I missed the deadline. I think the deadline was last August for the loan repayment. But that was a loan repayment that shot up. It was available for a year or 6 months. I didn't know about it. And then now I'm no longer eligible for it. So this is just to show these things come up all the time. I'm working at a hospital that I wanted to work at anyway. And I could have gotten $150,000 just for working here. I did not have this one. I did not have to do primary care. There are other ones that I could do for primary care, but I have to do at least 4 clinics a week. I don't think it's that. All right, so wealth, right? So far, we talked about how you guys are going to be broke and not have anything. That's not true. You guys are going to make money, and you're going to make a lot of money. You will. Your loans, yeah, it's going to be hard for a few years. Set it and forget it. You make sure you're paying a little bit more, at least just a little bit more than the principal, if not a good amount more, and you'll be even better off. It will be hard until you become an attending, but you'll be so much better off. What's going to make it even harder is the people that do not know any of this information are going to say, hey, let's go out. Hey, why didn't you get a new phone yet? Oh, your phone's so old. What? You know, you're going to be peer pressured to no end to spend money, right? You're going to find the love of your life, and you're going to want to spend money on them. That's the way it is, right? And you can't. You can to some degree, but you have to budget, right? Like I said, I'm not going to teach you guys how to budget. It's not like you haven't been taught this already, you haven't been told this already, but you need to learn how to do it better than you are already doing it. You know, practicing as a medical student is a great time. If you can have money in the bank account at the end of the month or after before the next loan comes in, you guys are going to be better off already having to start to practice it now when there's no pressure, all right? When there's no pressure. And remember, certain things, if you want to pay for them, you're like, oh, I want to get a new computer, or I want to get this textbook before residency. Do not. A lot of residencies will help you pay for it. Let's say you want to do pediatrics at Morristown. They give you like $3,000 a year for stuff. So they get iPads and then put stuff on the iPad. Downstate's not that good. Columbia is pretty good. If you want to do anesthesia at Columbia, they give you an iPad with all the textbooks on it, free. So don't buy the stuff until after you're in your residency program. If you like, oh no, I really want to read, I want to know stuff before I get there, I want to be a good resident. There's so much stuff online. It's ridiculous. You can pirate so much stuff off the software here and save it on whatever you want to. And there's still ways to save on things here, meaning USB drives and everything. Or you just go across the street to the library and use their stuff. You can use USBs. Don't buy books and gadgets and things like that because you may get reimbursed for them after you become a resident. Also, after you become a resident, you have a job. You have tax write-offs. I cannot teach you about tax write-offs. I'm learning them myself now. But there's tons of tax write-offs that you can do once you have a real job, but not as much when you're a student. So if you get an iPad, yeah, you can save this for school, but sometimes it's harder to justify. And you don't need the tax write-off when you're a student. You need it once you have a real income, all right? So budget resources, this is the time I was going to review the stupid sheet that I left in my office, but there's a section on there for budget resources. It's pretty big. If you read all of those links, you guys will be probably smarter than me in budgeting, but a lot of them are redundant in what's in those websites, so you don't really need to read all of them. Don't read everything. Don't go everywhere and get tons of advice. The basic advice is what I'm going over and what you're going to get everywhere else. So don't spend hours upon hours about trying to find the best solution that's going to work perfect for your life, because nothing is going to work perfect for your life, because all of these require saving and budgeting and taking care of what you need, not what you want. We all want something that will fill our wants, not our needs. All right. We're going to skip that, because we're going to talk about it. Next thing that you must know about, we're not going to talk too much longer. I hope you guys aren't too pressed. It's benefits packages, because you need to understand some of this before you become a resident, or else you're going to just not take care of it because you don't realize how important it is, or you're going to make some not so great decisions, right? So what do you guys know that are in benefit packages? What type of insurance? Okay, health insurance. All of you are getting health insurance. Most important thing is you get a residency. Okay, do not. Maybe if it's like you're in your ranking and you love these three programs so much, then look at the benefits and see which are the best ones and rank them based on what's more important to you as far as benefits. You love all three programs. But remember, you need to match. You need a job. We're all on the same page there, right? You need to be able to pay these things back. So match. But when you do match, you want to pay attention to the benefits that you're going to be getting. All right, so health insurance is guaranteed across the country. Some have better health insurance. Columbia, if you guys can go to Columbia for residency, they have one of the best healthcare packages there are. For residents only, not for everybody else. Residents and fellows. Morristown, not as good unless you're getting all of your healthcare at their network. They're called Atlantic Health. LIJ or Northwell is starting to do this. Kaiser Permanente is the main one that everybody knows. Kaiser Permanente in California, they own their own hospitals, they own everything, and they're an insurance company. So you go to Kaiser, what you wind up paying if they're your insurance is very minimal at their institutions. And Atlantic Health in New Jersey is the same way. If you work for Atlantic Health and you go to Atlantic Health, you pay next to nothing. Other places you wind up having copays and you wind up having deductibles. We're not going to talk about those things now. In the future, if you remember and you want to call me, text me, whatever, I'll explain those things. You'll be offered a number of different packages for your healthcare. Usually you're offered like 4 or 5 or 6 different things. And just because it looks cheaper doesn't mean it's better. All right, so most of the things that residents said that they have off for benefits is paid time off. You all have paid time off. Only 90% said they had paid time off. That's BS. 100% of residents have paid time off, unless they're in a non-accredited program. That's not going to be anything that you guys are going into. So you all get paid time home. Only 85% said they had health insurance. You're all going to get health insurance. Professional liability coverage. I'm not 100% sure that they all have this. What's professional liability coverage? Malpractice. Your hospital pays for it. Okay? So don't worry about that. Meal allowance. No. Not everyone gives you a meal allowance. Kings County does. They give you like $5,000 a year or something, and it goes straight to your paycheck. They don't like take it out separately. So even though it's 63, 64,000 for their salary, you get an extra couple of thousand on top of that for your meal allowance. Book allowance. So that's the number I believe, 65% for a real book allowance. Versus a lot of places don't necessarily give you book allowance. Other benefits, that's what we're going to talk about. Childcare, pretty much no matter where you go, for residents, you're able to get childcare or some type of subsidy for childcare.
When you're a resident, do you need to get out your own personal malpractice insurance, or do you recommend that?
No, you don't have to get you're going to be covered by the hospital. Now there are some things if you want to do an away rotation during your residency, then it may not be covered, and you have to get your own. And it's I don't know, it's a couple maybe when I did it for a rotation for sports medicine when I was a resident, 6-7 years ago, it was I think I paid $400 for it. They never actually cashed the check. It's not like I did anything good with that money, though. You know, I should have just taken that $400 that I thought I didn't have and saved it. I didn't. And then none of the above. That's nonsense. Every resident has at least one of those things, or at least any residency that you guys are going to go to. All right. So I mentioned this earlier. Committee of Insurance and Residents, CIR. They have it at Kings County. I bring it up for 2 reasons. One, go to their website and see what benefits you can expect. Maybe not all places have them, but there's tons of benefits. These are the benefits through CIR that Kings County residents get. Every hospital that CIR is at, it's a different thing. But through their website, you can look at all the different hospitals and all the stuff that they get. They get Rosetta Stone for free. So I got Italian, and you have to have a letter signed, and usually it's like French or Creole or Spanish. And my program director was like Italian. I'm like, well, my wife's family speaks Italian. I still haven't used it. They do a lot of different legal services. If you're going to get divorced, if you're getting sued, if you're buying a house, those legal services, they're either free or significantly reduced. Conferences allowance. So here you get $1,500 for basically your residency, and then if you do a fellowship, another $15. It depends on if you're doing surgery and so on. So meal allowance, $3,000 a year. The chief resident differential. So on top of the third-year salary, you become a fourth-year chief, or even the third-year chief. You get that on top of your salary. New resident differential. I'm not quite sure what that means, but I think you're getting a higher salary than every year. They try to do a higher salary. Professional education plan for $650 a year. House benefits plan. So the health benefits plan, you get eye care, and through this, it's actually great. Child care, conference money, prescriptions, life and disability. So life and disability, supplemental medical. I'm not going to talk about dental and obstetric extras. Obstetric extras are nice. They're like breast pumps and a whole bunch of other things that you wind up not having to pay for that sometimes you have to pay for depending on your insurance. So go to that website and see what's available. And look at what's available at all these different hospitals in Brooklyn. Brooklyn has a ton of CIR hospitals. If you are lucky enough to wind up at a CIR hospital, that's awesome. A lot of hospitals do not have CIR. Some hospitals, even though they don't have CIR, they have great benefits for residents, which is wonderful. But this is at least one place where you get an idea. And they talk you through about why these things are important. The ones that I want you guys to focus on are these. Disability. So, do any of you have kids now? All right. One day, when you have kids, you need to worry about these different insurances. Right now, you have loans, right? If you get hurt and you can no longer be a surgeon, right? You can't sew anymore, you can't operate. You have to go and do something else. But you're going to be out of work for a while. Those loans, you'll have to do forbearance or something else. You need disability insurance. Okay? Most places, as a resident, provide it. So, and it will be on their list of stuff that they show you in your interviews. You don't really have to ask that. But when you finish your residency, you must get real disability insurance, especially if you have a family or a house. Because if you're out of work because of a health reason for a prolonged period of time, those bills will ruin you. Right? I'm not telling you to go out and buy it during residency. Get it during the last few months of your residency before you become an attending, because you lock in lower rates. That's the same for life insurance. So why do you need life insurance? For who? Yeah, it's not for you, right? It's for when you're dead, whoever is behind you. So if you die, your loans usually do get forgiven. They have insurance on your loans against those things, because it's unlikely that you guys are going to die. If you have kids, you need life insurance. Most places will provide life insurance. They may take a small fee out of your paycheck as a resident. This is if you have kids, right? If you have a spouse, don't worry about it. It's not that I don't care about your spouse, but they are probably going to be around the same age as you. They can go to work, right? But if you have kids, if you have kids, or if you need to get life insurance, you see you need it. Get it right before you become an attending, while you're still a resident. You get cheaper rates. I got cheaper rates. My rates are all as a pediatrician, not as an intensivist. There's a big difference in my disability and my life insurance. I got it before certain ages, so I don't have to do multiple medical evaluations, where they check my cholesterol and change my interest rates and how much I have to pay, because I did it when I was younger.
The payout change? Is the payout?
No, you buy $1 million, you buy $1 million, or $2 million, or $3 million, or whatever. I'm not going into the different types of health, life insurance. There's two types. All right. The type that I am talking about that you should make sure you get if you have children, and again they offer it in most benefit packages, is term. Okay. Term life insurance. It has an end point. It's not like an investment, but it's much cheaper than whole life. It's like an annuity, and there's ways that you invest the money, and you get money back, and then it's guaranteed after. It's all the term life insurance. I'm not telling you to go out and buy it at all. If you have kids, try to get it before you finish at the end of your residency. Okay. What you do need to know about, no matter who you are, is 401ks, 403bs, IRAs, retirement funds. They will probably offer them while you're a resident. Get them, right? Sometimes you have to be there for a certain number of years before they'll do matching. One of my friends, Suzanne Burke, she started off a year in emergency medicine, switched over to pediatrics, did pediatrics, then worked here as a hospitalist for 2 years, then did pulmonology for 3 years, then did allergy immunology for 2 years, and is now continuing to work for the city and going to work as some type of epidemiologist, pulmonologist in a school. She works for the city of New York. The city of New York has one of the best pensions plans and one of the few true, real pension plans left in the world. She has been working for the city for 10 years. She has guaranteed health care for life. She never has to pay for health insurance. And all of her time is accruing towards her pension. So in 25 years, she can retire on a full pension. 25 years from now, right? I still have like 30, 35 years from now. But 25 years from now, when I say retire on a full pension, I mean the highest amount that she could, less than that, 25 years working for the city. So after 25, she has 15 more years. Right? That's insane. You can't collect it till you're 60 or 65 or something. But she's set. Right? It's amazing because she took care of it when she first became a resident at Kings County. Nobody told me about it. I can buy back those years now that I'm working at Kings County again, but it's not the same and being able to retire as early and everything that she could. So know the benefits, know the retirement benefits, and when they give you that package, they fill it out and turn it back in. Really look at it. Have someone important look at it. And that's we talked about the kids thing. We're gonna skip the college planning thing, but it all comes down to compounding, like we talked about before. Get someone with this name, fiduciary. When you go and they talk about your benefits, they'll say, oh, Prudential, we have this 401k that we'll do matching and we're going to invest it in right? Stop listening. Don't be sold something. Because people who work for Prudential work for Prudential. There are fees, there are rates, there's reinvestments, there's all these things taken out of the money that makes Prudential a lot of money. You don't want to make Prudential money, you want to make yourself money. So a fiduciary, this is somebody who is not beholden to any company. You pay out of pocket, and they will tell you what's probably the best strategy for your money. Okay? This is extremely important for you to know, not today, not tomorrow, but yes, when you start having to deal with benefits. The earlier you talk to someone who has a fiduciary, they'll help you. There's lots of different terms out there. The ones that you guys probably know is personal finance advisor. You want to know someone who is registered as a fiduciary, not just, I think that word is weird, but not just a personal finance investor, money manager, or anything. There's a website to help find them, all right? They are unbiased. They're supposed to be totally unbiased. You guys have no money right now, but you can say, hey, look, I'm going to be a doctor. In about 5-10 years, I'm going to be making this great salary. If you help me now, I'll make it worth your while later, and I'll stay your customer no matter where I move in the country. Right? You meet with them like once, twice a year to re-go over your portfolios, and this is how you become a millionaire. They're the ones who will help you become a millionaire, right? I think this is extremely important. Just as important as prepayment on your loans and not going into deferment. Okay? But don't take my word for it. All right, home loans. You guys want to skip that? One day you will want them. You are going to have a huge debt-to-income ratio. You'll never be able to get loans because your debt is $800,000. Your income, $65,000. You'll never get a loan. Okay? So there's lots of ways to do it. There are these things out there called doctor's loans that say, oh, don't worry about that debt-to-income ratio. We'll give you a loan. We know you're good for it. But they have tons of fees. They're very expensive. These are all the different types of ways that you can pay for a house, all right? But really, the best thing is just doing it a conventional way, saving your money, getting that 20%, and getting a normal loan just like everybody else. All the other things have a lot of fees, a lot, and you wind up paying a lot more money in the long run. That's the quick bit. All right, so we're going to finish up. There's a few books that during your 4th year you'll have a lot more time to read. Okay, you have as much access as you want to this. I'm gonna take the recording and put it on YouTube like I did with the last one, but not many people watched the last one, so I'm gonna repost it on YouTube. I hope you do. Only 3 people watched it, and I was one of them.
Yeah, they kind of bought
What?
They kind of bought
So, all right. So the first one is, I've mentioned this guy before, but this book is amazing. I kid you not, this book is absolutely amazing. I wish I knew some of this stuff when I was your age. If I knew some of the stuff, the basic, not even like the whole book, just like the first 100 pages. If I knew this stuff 10 years ago, I would be in a much different financial place right now. Much, 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 much different. All right. So if you take what I've talked about as far as loans and read this, you guys will be millionaires in like 10, 12 years. I'm not exaggerating. But again, I'm not going to advise you on anything other than I think this is one of the books that you must read. Just like How to Win Friends and Influence Others, that is a book you must read. And right now, again, you only have to pay shipping. You can go to the website, Money Master the Game. Just type that into Google, click on the first link, and it's $7 for shipping. You can get the book for free. I'm not telling you to get it, but the audiobooks are like $30 for the unabridged version. I'm big on audiobooks because I drive too much. All right, the next one, which I highly recommend, is The Richest. This is about saving and investing. And it talks about these different stories about these people in Babylon, and it's amazing. It's a great book. It's a really quick and easy read. If you don't want to read it, that's fine. Go to YouTube, put it into YouTube, and just listen to someone else read it to you. It is so good. If you do it that way, though, take notes. When you read the book, take notes. If you don't take notes, it's like wasting time. This book was a little bit more difficult to read, but this is not necessarily mine. Those 2 books are the ones I think you must read. This one is pretty much recommended by the rest of the world. I've skimmed it. I haven't truly read the whole thing, so this is not coming from me. But pretty much the whole world says you should read this book. And then finally, this is not about becoming a millionaire, but this is really about how to dig yourself out of debt and everything else. This money is worth its weight in gold. It's worth it. And most, this person you probably heard of. Here's our own show and stuff too. She has a website there's tons of stuff on our website that can actually help you too. I don't endorse these people. I get no money for anything I do with you guys. I get no money from anything that's in this. I don't want bad things to happen, and you guys will be able to pay everything back, and you will be making a lot of money earlier than I did. If you go into primary care, salaries are so much better than they were before. If you learn how to bill, and that's a whole other thing, you can make a lot of money if you're going into private practice. Don't listen to everyone when they say you don't make any money anymore. It's not true. You do. You have to put a little more effort in. You have to work a lot harder for it. But you can make a lot of money. So do not feel like those numbers that I showed you at the beginning are the worst, ever. I show you them because I need you to listen to me so they don't amount to bigger numbers. All right? And if you ever have any questions, always just ask me. Any questions before you guys go? When you guys do become millionaires, can you just remember that I have 5 kids? And I may need a loan.
Oh, come on, bro.